I literally let this girl in my life, let her sleep in my bed, like let her in my house around my people. You are doing stuff like that to me, like that is not somebody, that's a straight out demon. Honestly, if I continued being friends with that girl, I would honestly end up either in jail, in the hospital, or 6 feet under. Hey goodies, welcome back to my channel. It's your good gal Adora, and if you're new, welcome. Guys, I'm back. Your girl's back. I'm back in my regular setup, like as y'all can see. And when I tell you, it feels so good to be back home, just back in my space. Because for y'all that know, like, your girl just came back from vacation, and when I tell you, it was a struggle and a half just to finally reach back home, but I am here and I'm just so grateful. After everything, I think I'm probably gonna take a little break off of traveling after the stuff I had to experience, but yeah. So today, guys, I have a juicy video for y'all. It's be a story time, your favorite, because I know my goodies out there love my story times. You guys just love fussing in my business. Me spilling all my tea is it just brings so much joy to y'all. So I said, why not give you guys and bless you guys with another story time to start off the new year. So today's story is going to be about the best friend from hell. And honestly, I was contemplating on if I should do this video because it's a lot. It's a lot to cover. It's a lot that I have to relive. Even telling this story, just reliving it, I was very weary if I wanted to do that because, like, the stuff that happened to me was really hurtful. But I have a story to tell, and I'm going to tell it. So, before we get into the story time, make sure you guys like, comment, and subscribe to my YouTube channel and turn on your post notifications so you guys know when I upload, and also follow me on all my social medias. And yeah, guys, let's get into this story. So, for this story, by the way, disclaimer, before I get into the story, this girl did apologize to me actually a month ago, like a day after my birthday. She apologized to me for all the stuff that she did, and I forgave her for, you know, the stuff that happened. But like I said, I will never forget, and it was definitely, being friends with somebody like that was definitely a learning lesson for me, and it just opened my eyes to a lot of things, and it definitely made me more careful on who I call my friend and who I have around me and in my circle, and definitely put a guard up for me when it comes to sharing things and letting people in my life. But anywho, so this story time, we are going to call this girl Sketel. That is the best way I could describe this girl because she was just a Sketel. And if you are not from the Caribbean background, if you are not Jamaican, Sketel is basically a ratchet person, a hood rat. You get the gist, like just someone that just has no class. And I think it's best suited to describe her because the stuff that she did to me was very low class, low brow of her. So anywho, so me and Sketel, we first met in high school. In grade 9. So in high school, me and Sketel were never close. Like, we weren't, I can't say like we were like, we weren't friends, but we were cool. We were cool. That's all I could say. And we were mostly mutual friends. Like, we shared the same friends. We hanged out in the same friend group. But me and her were never close like that in high school. But regardless of me and her not being close, me and her always had like that connection. I don't know what it was. I don't know, maybe because me and her had the same birthday. Like, when I tell you guys, me and her were born on the same day, same month, same year, everything. So I don't know if that's what it was, but me and her always had like a little connection there. And also, the reason we couldn't really get too close too is because we never shared none of the same classes. So the only time me and her would actually see each other or hang out would be like after school, lunchtime, and it was always with a crowd of people. But I always liked her for some reason. And one thing about Sketel, she was hilarious. Like, when I tell you, the girl used to make me laugh all the time. And one thing about me, a person that can make me laugh is a friend of mine. Like, I love people that could just make me laugh. And she was definitely a joker. Like, it was just everything. Like, she had dry humor like I do. She was feisty, and I just grew to like her. But like I said, we never really got close. We were just mutual, but when we were around each other, there was always a connection. So, long story short, towards the end of grade 9, I ended up leaving that school, and me and my mom moved back to Montreal because my mom felt it was best that I stayed in Montreal, like, to finish the rest of my high school years, because your girl was getting herself in too much trouble. Like, when I say I was always getting myself in trouble, and it wasn't really my fault, it was mostly the people that I had around me, the people that, like I said, I tried to be friends with. It was always something. And I don't know, in high school, middle school, I was always having issues with girls. They were always trying to bully me. They were always trying to start fights with me. It was always something. And the year previously, I ended up getting in trouble with the law. That's a story time in itself, but we are not here to talk about that. I ended up getting in trouble with the law, and towards the end of grade 9, I got in a fight at school. So police were involved, but I did not get in trouble because I did not start that fight, and it was mostly self-defense. But because I got in trouble the year before, my mom just didn't want me in no more trouble, especially with the law. So we ended up moving. So even though I moved back to Montreal, I always stayed in contact with some of the girls that I used to hang out with, and Sketel was one of them. And 4 years later, we're out of high school. I think I'm grown and all this stuff, and my mom decides, okay, let's try out Toronto again and see how it is. And being said, me and my mom ended up moving back to Toronto. Yes, y'all probably like, what the hell's wrong with y'all? Why you keep moving back and forth, back and forth? Listen, I don't know either. That's just how me and my mom are. Like, when we get bored of one place, like, we just like to move around and, you know, just experience different places and stuff. That's how it's always been. So we ended up moving back to Toronto May 2017. So, like I said, I kept in contact with a few of the girls that I went to school with in grade 9, and like I said, Sketel was one of them. But majority of them all either got pregnant or they were just on some different stuff. But Skettel was one of the girls that I was still talking to. So I hit her up and I told her, girl, I'm back in Toronto. You know, we need to link up or whatever. And during that time, it was close to like summer's coming up. And if you know, you know, like Toronto's lit in the summer, especially that summer. There was so much stuff going on, so I was down for anything. I was trying to have a real hot girl summer.
I can't talk right now. I'm doing hot girl.
Like, period. Her up, told her I'm back, and she then told me that her cousin's actually having an event the next month. So to me, I'm hyped. Like, what do you mean an event? Like, I'll be there. Just tell me when and where, and I'll be there. So she gave me a ticket to go to the event, and she told me to meet up with her when the day comes. So fast forward to the day of the event. I end up going there. Honestly, the party was not it. The event turned out whack, but from that night moving forward, me and that girl, like when we seen each other, it felt like we've been around each other all these years. Like, it did not change. Like, the vibe was still there. You know, sometimes when you hang out with people that you haven't hanged out with for a long time, sometimes the vibe is different or things change. But when I say it felt like old times, like me and that girl just hit it off. And from that day, when I tell you from that night moving forward, me and that girl were literally together all the time, for the whole summer. So I'm gonna try to insert a clip of how I was looking that night. And that night moving forward, me and that girl, we were like this. So we're enjoying the summer or whatever, and July hits. This is where I should have took the warning and ran.
Red flag.
But because I'm stubborn and I try to give people the benefit of the doubt, I just said whatever. July hits. Skettel tells me she wants to go to Jamaica. And you know, once I hear Jamaica, my ears perk up because I'm always down to go to Jamaica. Like, Jamaica's home. My family's from Jamaica. Like, anything to do with Jamaica, I'm down for it, you know? So when she told me she wants to go to Jamaica the next month, I was down for it because I was actually gonna plan to go, but I wasn't too sure. But once she gave me that thought to go and told me she wanted to go, I was up for it. So by any means necessary, let's go. And she wanted to do like a girls trip, so I said, okay, let me set something up, since I have family and people out there that could like hook us up with, you know, a place and stuff. So we planned a trip to go to Jamaica, and we made an agreement that 10 days. So the plan was she would pay 5 days of the trip at the place that we were staying at. I had the ride, like I could get people to drive us up and down wherever we need to go. Especially how I have my stepsister out there, I would have figured out everything else. So that was the plan. So August hits. We were supposed to travel. Was it August the 5th? No, August the 10th we were supposed to travel. So August 1st hits. Skettel decides to message me and tell me that she wants to go to Jamaica a few days early. And when she told me, I was just like, what? Like, I was kind of, it was so like out of nowhere. And I was like, why? And Sketel tells me she wants to go a few days early so she could see her man, because her man's currently in Jamaica and she wants to spend some time with him and his mother. So I was like, okay. At first I was like, but doesn't your man live out in Toronto? Like, you can't just wait until he comes back. But she was really persistent. She was really persistent to see him before he left. So I said, okay, whatever. Just make sure when I actually fly out, you come to where I'm at when I'm out there. And she said, no problem. So, long story short, she ended up not showing up the whole entire trip. I ended up having to pay for everything, literally everything. And yeah, she basically hired me out for the whole entire trip, and she stayed up by her family in Jamaica. And the thing is, she was in Jamaica the whole time. It's not like she wasn't in Jamaica. She was in Jamaica while I was in Jamaica, but she just did not come to where I was staying. I don't know if it's because she didn't want to pay, she didn't have enough money to pay, or I don't know what it was, but the girl didn't show up. And I was so pissed. My mother was even more pissed because she was the one helping me pay for the trip, because at the time I think I was like only 19, and which 19-year-old you see like just blowing money like that to go to Jamaica and pay for place and all these things. So I paged her about it. I asked her what happened actually, and she could only give me some lame ass excuse, basically saying that her family wouldn't let her come up to where I was staying because they don't trust her leaving them. She told me that she lost her phone. Just a whole bunch of BS. But my dumbass, because I'm a forgiving person, I said, you know what, whatever. The trip is over. The money's done wasted, so whatever. We move on. Gave her for that situation, even though I should have took those signs and just cut her off from then. But I didn't. So, this is now the second situation that happened that was very, very, very alarming. And this situation happened September. So, like I said, we went to Jamaica August. So September hits. Now, the situation, the worst date situation happened. If you are not familiar with the worst date ever story, definitely check that out. Either I'll link it in the description box below, because y'all need to watch that story time. It's one of my highest viewed story on my channel, and it's definitely one for the books. So, for the people that didn't watch the story time, long story short, I basically was put in a situation because I was basically trying to be the supportive friend, because her and a guy that I knew first hooked her up with his cousin that came from England. And towards the end of the night, they ended up bringing us into a hotel. She ended up hooking up with his cousin, and he basically tried to sexually assault me in the hotel room, in the bathroom actually. He dragged me in the bathroom, and yeah, if you guys, like I said, if you guys didn't watch that story, you should watch it. So that happened. You would think as a friend, she would have had my back the whole time, but she didn't. Even when he was dragging me in the bathroom, she never helped me because she was too busy getting her cheeks banged in, and she didn't business about me. But good thing, I held my own, and at the end of the day, the guy didn't do anything to me. He He wasn't able to actually like physically assault me, but it was it was still a very traumatic situation to be put in. You would think she would have my back and, you know, stop what she was doing to try and, like, you know, stop the situation, but she didn't. And at the end of the night, they ended up not even driving us home. I had to end up using my money to get both of us home. And, you know, after all of that, Sketel still kept in communication with both guys. Even after everything, she kept in communication with both guys. Keep that in mind. I'm not done with that story. After that situation, I was completely pissed. Like, I felt so violated. I was actually traumatized for a few days, but, you know, I get over stuff pretty fast. Think about it sometimes, but I try to get over terrible situations really fast. I don't like to harbor on, you know, old things. So even after that, you would think I would cut this girl off, but I still didn't cut her off.
You're so dumb. You are really dumb. For real.
I know what was wrong with me, y'all. Like, I know y'all probably like, damn, like, girl, you don't learn your lesson. But honestly, I just, like, I don't know. I had a soft spot for this girl. I don't know why. I just don't know. After that situation happened, I ended up moving into a different area, and I ended up getting a new job at a salon. And within working in that salon, I ended up meeting this guy. And me and this guy, let me give him a name actually. I'm EJ. So I met EJ within working, and me and EJ were going steady. Like, we had a really good relationship, and we were always together. Like, we would spend a lot of time together. And he used to play football. He went to school in Ottawa actually, so the times that he would come down to Toronto, that's when I would see him. But every time I would see him, we would spend a lot of time together. This is where she really started, like, just going crazy. Like, she saw that I was basically in a relationship, and I honestly feel she was starting to get really jealous, and she was starting to show little signs of jealousy by doing stuff. Like, when he would be around, every time he would come around, she would always start with him. She would always start like little petty arguments with him. She would always like insult him, and it wasn't like actual just disrespectful insults. It was more so like in a joking way. They used to have that like really tit for tat relationship. Like, he would say something to her, she would say something back. She would say something to him, he would say something back, and they would always like play fight, I guess. And I never understood why she would always do that. And as time went on, I noticed she would do that with any guy that liked me. She would always try to interfere and like put her 2 cents in it, or just do stuff to like disrespect the guy. And I started noticing that when I started talking to EJ. You know, I guess because I started spending more time with him and less time with her, she started feeling away. And probably like a month after me and him were, you know, dating or whatever, she calls me out of nowhere one day, and she calls me crying, like straight out bawling. And it was such a shock to me, because the type of person Sketel was, she was a very like strong, like she was a very strong personality. Like, she was a very bubbly person. Like, you would never, I was so shocked to actually hear her crying, because the way she was, you would never think that she could cry. She always acts like she's too big and bad. So to hear her crying was just like very alarming. And she started saying how she felt like killing herself and how she wanted to just jump in front of a bus and let it just run her over. And to me, that was just like, whoa. Like, that was just so out of nowhere. I was so shocked. Like, I didn't even know what to say to her. I tried to console her as much as I could, but in my mind, I'm like, where is this coming from? Because everything was good just yesterday, just a day ago, and now you're calling me, crying me, saying that you want to commit suicide. I just don't understand. So after that, I ended up telling my mother what happened, and the first thing my mom said is, I think she's jealous of you. And at first, I was kind of in denial about it because, like I said, like when you're friends with somebody and you hear negative stuff about them, or like when people tell you stuff about them, you really don't want to listen to it because you just want to see somebody in a good light. But as time went on, I really realized she really was jealous of me. That's why I say, people, always listen to your parents. Your parents' first instinct about people is usually right. I know sometimes we want to be in denial because we just love our friends and we just don't want to be by ourselves, but we really got to listen to our parents. And that was my problem, because the whole time in the friendship, my mom would always tell me not to trust this girl. She would always call her bad bargain. That was my mom's favorite word to use for her, was bad bargain. And I never understood why she called her that, but now I do. After that situation happened with the phone call, I was kind of thrown off with her. And as time went on, when me and EJ started getting a little bit more serious, she really started just showing her true colors. Like, her jealousy and negative energy was just coming out full force. And I really couldn't deal with it anymore. And after the other two incidents, I just said, you know what? I think it's time for me to take a break from her. This girl obviously has some issues that only God could fix. So let me just cut her off for a little bit. I cut her off for about 6 months after that whole situation happened. And another reason I cut her off, and I was so hurt when I found out that the same guy that tried to sexually assault me that night, her and him ended up becoming real close, and they were hanging out with each other. They were talking about me behind my back, and I honestly think she set me up that night too. When I think about everything, I really think she set me up that night too. And I ended up finding out because I seen on her snap, and I think she thought she deleted me because I think we removed each other off of Snap, but I ended up seeing on her snap that she was hanging out with him. And when I saw that, my heart dropped. Like, I couldn't believe, after everything that I've done for this girl, after everything we've been through, that's what she decides to do. Just because I stopped talking to her, and she honestly felt I stopped talking to her because I was dating EJ, but it really wasn't that. It was just the overall, all the stuff that happened within the span of 5 months, guys. 5 months. All that shit happened. So you would cut off somebody too if all of that shit is happening within such a short space of time. So I ended up not talking to her. And after seeing her hanging out with that guy, I really just didn't want no parts to do with her. So, the 6 months go by. By that time, me and EJ actually stopped talking. Well, we stopped dating, and you know, April. No, it was like May. I don't even know. But after 6 months, me and her, I decided, I miss my friend. And like I said, she was a fun time. Like, one thing about Sketa, she was just a fun time. Every time me and her together, it was definitely a vibe. So I decided to reach out to her and just have a discussion, because I felt like so much happened that needed to be said, and I wanted to have a full-on, like, grown-up discussion with her. So I said, you know what, let's go out on a lunch date and talk about everything, and just resolve this, because we're supposed to be friends, we shouldn't be fighting, and it's just petty. She agreed to it. We ended up making back up, and we then went back to how we were before. And for a few months, the relationship went good. Like, me and Sketa had no issues. She wasn't being her bad-minded self. She wasn't acting jealous. Of course, she's not perfect, but it wasn't how it was in the beginning. So like I said, everything was going fine in our relationship and our friendship for a while. So guys, like I said, with Skettel, you don't know what's coming, you don't know what's gonna happen next. And like I said, this relationship was literally like being on a roller coaster, because you don't know if you're coming up or down. And this situation really had to make me I was just in shock. So, up or whatever, a few months go by. She finally bought herself her car that she's been wanting for a long time. So Skettel finally buys herself a car. And at this point, like, once one of your friends get a car, you guys are always out about joyriding everywhere. So one night we decided that let's go out to eat and go to the casino. So she decides to drive up to where I live, which is probably like 40 minutes away from her house, and pick me up from work. And then after work, we would go out to the casino and eat. I was talking to this next girl that I was cool with, and she was having an event at this club, this really popular club in Toronto, and she really wanted us to come. And at first we were like, we don't know, because it's kind of like out of our way, and we already had plans to like go out to eat and stuff. But she was like begging me to come. So I said, okay, whatever, we'll come. So we get cute or whatever, and we meet the girl. We actually pick her up, and then we head to the club. Everything's good that night. The night went fine. Like, we had a lit time, and everything was good. So now it is towards the end of the night, and when I tell you, like I said, with Skettel, you don't know what you're gonna get. So we decided to go outside and walk to the car, because it's time to leave. The club is closing. Skettel pulls out her key and she tries to open her car. When we look, there's no car there. We're looking around. I'm asking Skettel, did you park your car somewhere else? Like, did you leave the club? Because she did end up leaving one time during the night, but I thought she went to the bathroom or something. But I asked her, like, did you park the car anywhere else? And she's like, no. We're there pressing on the friggin', I don't even know, the controller or whatever to open the car. You don't hear nothing. Like, the car is completely gone. And I'm just like, what the hell is going on? We had such a good night. Who would expect her car to be gone and stolen? So now Sketel's there panicking, talking about someone stole her car. And I'm just so confused, like, what is going on? Like, why did this have to happen tonight? And it was so cold. When I tell you guys, it was so cold that night. Like, I was not up for standing outside in that cold. And out of nowhere, because you never hear stuff like that happen. Like, who goes out and gets their car stolen? And I'm like, how did that happen? And you know what Sketel had the nerve to tell me? She forgot her car key in the car. This whole time, I'm thinking that she has the little car key. This girl only had the opener. I'm like, why would you separate the two? Like, why would you just have your car key in your car? And to make things worse, she just got paid that day. And she had her money in the car. Completely over that night. I was through. Literally through. Every time I go out with this girl, it was always something. But this night really took the cake. We ended up getting a ride. We ended up, like, I think one of the guys at the club really liked us, and he ended up driving us back to her house because she lived pretty close to the club that we were at. We're there the next day. She has to call her insurance company and basically report her car stolen. And I'm here just still in shock because I can't believe, like, this girl. And the thing is, like I told you, she just got her car. She had that car for only 2 months. So it was just like, I was just so shocked. I honestly, to this day, I'm still so shocked. I had to get home because obviously I had to work and I couldn't just be up there. Like, she lives in the city, I live in the suburbs. So she ended up getting one of her cousins to drop me home. Be mindful, this is the same cousin that I went to the event for. The first time I met her, that was his event that we were going. And he comes, she tells him what happened, and even he was just like, what are you telling me? Like, Sketel, what are you telling me? Like, how does your car just get stolen like that? It just doesn't make sense. And at this point, her whole family is questioning her, like, who just gets their car stolen? And they try to ask me what happened, and I'm telling them, like, I don't know what happened. The only thing I know is that she said she left her key in the car. Drops me home. And that day, me and him talked a little bit in the car, and I guess he likes me, and he ended up telling Sketel that, you know, he wants to talk to me. And at first, I was kind of hesitant because at the end of the day, it's my friend's cousin, and, you know, sometimes those two just don't mix. But me and him ended up talking after that, and that was the worst thing I could have done. On top of all the things, after all the things that happened between me and this girl, I think that was probably the worst thing I could have done, is get myself involved with her and her family. When I tell you, once me and her cousin started talking, it felt like it was the whole family and me talking. She would literally go back to him and tell him everything I would say behind his back. Anything he would say behind my back, she would run and tell me. And from that day forward, turmoil. It was the worst thing I could have done. I usually don't regret things in life, but that was one thing I definitely regretted. And I realized this because she didn't want us together. She never liked it from the beginning. She even told him that she didn't want him talking to me. It was just a lot. And I don't even want to go too into detail with how me and that man's relationship ended, but long story short, we almost got into a physical fight, and it involved her, his sister, and her uncle. So that tells you a lot. And after everything unfolded, I did realize that she caused majority of it, because she would always run back and tell him everything that I would say, and sometimes even lie. And she basically just got herself involved and told the rest of his family, which got them involved, and it just became a whole bunch of mix up that didn't need to happen. After everything with the whole car situation, the hotel situation, the Jamaica trip, everything, you would still think I would cut this girl off, because at this point she's becoming a nuisance to my life. She's just causing too much problems in my life. But no, I decided to just, stay friends with her. And on top of that, it wasn't so much of me just being stupid. Sketel was a good liar. The girl could lie. Like, she could straight out lie to her teeth. The girl was the best liar. Like, she was hands down the best liar I ever met. So a lot of the stuff that people would tell me about her, or stuff that she would do, she would always have a lie to get her out of it, or make her seem like she never did anything in the situation. So that's why I never hold her accountable for anything, because she would always find a way to lie out of it. And she would love to lie to me, because when I say the whole friendship was a whole damn lie. So after the whole situation with her cousin and her family, I decided, it's best that, like, I just keep my distance when it comes to her and her family. I stopped really at her cousin's house. His sister, the cousin that I was talking to, his sister lived in the same building as her. So sometimes I would go to the sister's house and hang out. And that's basically how, everybody got involved also, because, I was just hanging out there. And, sometimes when you start to hang out with people, you start to hang with crablos, they all drag you in the barrel with them. So that's how I basically got involved with the family. So I decided to distance myself and stop, coming around her and her family. And if I do hang out with her, it would have to just be me and her separately. So after that situation happened, another month goes by, and me and her are okay. Now, Sketel does something else messed up to me again. Every time I try to give this girl a chance, she would always ruin it by just being evil and conniving. And this situation definitely made me realize that. Even though I didn't realize until after. But anyways, introduces me to a friend of hers, a guy she introduces me to. So, she told him that I did hair, because she said, he asked her actually if she knew anybody that could do hair, and she told him that I do hair, to get his hair braided. And I said whatever. I told him a price, because my work is not for free. I scheduled a date with him. So I decided to come to Sketel's house because she lived really close to where he lived, and I basically told her, I'm gonna come over your house and I'm gonna go do so and so's hair while you're at work, and then when you come back from work, just tell me so I could come meet you back at the house. I actually slept over. Yeah, I actually slept over that weekend, so that's why I was already at her house, and I told her the plans from ahead so she would know. So the day comes where I have to do his hair. She leaves early in the morning because she had to go to work, and I call her and tell her that I'm gonna go do the guy's hair and he's gonna come pick me up. So she said, okay, cool, that's no problem, because at the end of the day, that's her friend. And we were actually all on the phone with each other, so she knew that he was on his way to come pick me up so I could do his hair. So with that being said, I told her I'm leaving. She knew that I didn't have a key to her house, and she had no issue with that. She said she would get one of her cousins to come downstairs and lock the door for her. So I left, closed the door. I just didn't lock it because I didn't have a key, because like I said, she said she would get one of her cousins to lock the door. So I go to the guy's house and I do his hair. She calls me. She calls me and she's like, where are you? So-and-so's house, I'm doing his hair. She's like, what? Aren't you supposed to be at my house? I'm like, girl, you know I was gonna do this nigga's hair because you were on the phone with us when I made all these plans. And she's like, no, you never told me that you were gonna leave the house when it's unlocked. I'm like, didn't you tell me to close the door and leave because your cousin's gonna come downstairs and lock the door? So she's like, oh my gosh, you left the house door unlocked and blah 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 blah. She starts panicking and she's like, okay, I'm gonna call you back. So I hang up and I'm telling the guy, like, I don't know what's wrong with Sketel. Like, she knows that I came here to do your hair. And he's just like, I don't know what's her issue. Anyways, she calls me probably like 30 minutes after. You know what this girl had the nerve to tell me? Someone robbed her house. So in my head, I'm just like, what? Like, I'm just so shocked. Like, what do you mean someone just robbed your house? Even the guy that I was doing his hair was like, what is she talking about? That's a lie. Like, Sketel's straight out lying. Like, she has issues. Nobody robbed her house. And she's literally on the phone talking about someone robbed her house and how I need to come to her house and take my stuff and go. So I'm at this point just shocked. I'm like, what is going on? Like, who was watching her house door? Because she lives in a big ass building and there's at least 20 apartments on her floor. Who's really gonna target that main, like her apartment specifically, and know that it was unlocked? And the thing is, nobody was home because at that time her mom went away on vacation and nobody was home. Only she was home. So in my mind, I'm just confused on how that could happen, stuff, and leave. So the guy drops me to her house, and I basically go up to her apartment and get my stuff. And when I reached her apartment, inside of her house looked a mess. Like, it looked like a tornado hit her whole living room, but it didn't look like someone robbed her house. Because I'm not saying I've seen people rob people's houses, but the way her house looked did not look like someone that got robbed. It did not look like a house that got robbed. So when I looked in her house, I noticed that her TV was missing in the living room, but not the PlayStation. So I was just like, okay. Then when I went in her room to get my bag, I noticed her laptop was missing, but not her speakers. And she had one of those big ass speakers, and it wasn't missing. It was there on her desk. It's just like, something's not right here. But I just grabbed my stuff and left because kind of game she was trying to play on me. But I have scenarios that already happened between me and this girl. So at this point, I was just through. Like, first your car gets stolen, now this, like, so much stuff is just happening, and I couldn't understand what was going on. So after that night, I took my stuff, I went home. The guy drove me home, and I just decided to take a break from her again for like a week, because at this point it's just like too much is going on. I've never been around someone that every time I'm around them, something negative, something bad is always happening. So I'm like, maybe it's me, maybe it's, I don't know what it is. Like, maybe I just need to stay away from this girl. A week passed, and she decides to message me on iMessage. She basically messaged me cussing me, saying how I don't care about her, and look how I made someone steal and rob her house, and I don't even call to check up on her, and how she can't even go home now because her mom kicked her out, and she doesn't have nowhere to stay because of me. And I felt bad because, I didn't mean to have that happen. If it did happen, I didn't mean for it to happen. But basically, she was trying to guilt trip me on what happened, and she felt that I should have been more concerned and reached out to her because of everything. But in my mind, you kicked me out of your house. Like, to me, that's disrespect. You said what you had to say. Like, what else am I supposed to do? I can't bring back the stuff. I could try, because I offered to give her my TV and I offered to get her a new laptop, but she said she didn't want that. So at this point, it's like, what am I supposed to do? So after that situation happened, I decided to just take a break from her for a little longer. Mom told me that, I need to just stay away from this girl, because every time I get around her, it's always something. Like, my mom was just so confused. Like, how can someone go through so much all the time? Like, first she gets her car stolen, now she gets her house robbed in, and that also happened within a span of like 4 months. So I decided to take another break from her, and this time I did not speak to her for like 3 months. So during that break period of me and her not speaking, I started talking to my current boyfriend. And if you guys are familiar with my YouTube channel and watch my vlogs, you guys already seen my boyfriend. Yeah, nothing more to explain, but me and my boyfriend started talking around this time. I think it was around July we started talking. As time went on, me and him started getting serious, and we started dating. So she reached out to me after the 3 months, and she basically said that she wanted to hang out with me. And at first I was down to hang out with her because, like I said, sometimes I miss her. Like, I used to miss her sometimes, and like I said, every time we were around each other, it used to be a good vibe. But something in my mind told me not to hang out with her that night. And I'm glad I did because I later then found out that she was gonna set me up to get my ass beat. Like, even though she couldn't beat my ass, but the girl tried. She tried to cause. Her cousin ended up actually telling me that she was gonna come meet me with her and some other friend of hers to come and beat me up. So I'm glad I did not hang out with her that night. Probably like another month passed, and she ends up reaching out to me again. And this time she apologizes and tells me that she's sorry for everything and how she just felt really hurt because we weren't speaking, and she honestly misses our friendship. To forgive her again. And don't count on how many times I forgave this girl. I don't even remember how many times I forgave that girl at this point. But I accepted her apology and I said whatever. I started dating my current boyfriend. And at the time, after everything that I've been through with that girl, I really didn't want to involve her in my new relationship because I've seen how she gets when, you know, a guy likes me, or anytime any guy likes me, she would try to interfere and just do some jealous ass shit because she was very insecure. By the way, Sketa was not like a cute girl. Like, she wasn't cute. She knew how to put herself together, but she wasn't like, she's not somebody that would stand out, you know? That was okay. Like, everybody has their own thing. And the thing is, she would get a lot of guys. But when it came to me, she always felt insecure because when we do go out, I would always get more of the attention. So when it came to me being in relationships or me starting to talk to a guy, she would always interfere and talk to her about my relationship at the time because after everything I've been through with her, I really tried to keep my personal life to myself and just not letting her into my business like that. I tried to keep her out of my relationship at the time, but one day my boyfriend calls me, he FaceTimes me, and he asked me where was I. I told him that I was at her house. I know, after everything you would think, why would I hang out with her and be up in her house after everything? But my dumbass was there. So I was at her house hanging out or whatever, and my boyfriend was with his cousin. So he passes his phone to his cousin, and you know, I'm cool with his family, so I start talking to his cousin and I tell him that, oh, I have my girl here. So I then pass my phone to her so she could talk to his cousin because he wanted to see what my girl looked like. I guess, you know, he liked what he saw, and they ended up exchanging numbers, and from that day they just started talking for like a month or so. A month goes by and they start talking or whatever, and this situation was like the straw that broke the camel's back. This situation was the final situation that just made me have to cut this girl off completely because at this point it was just getting too much. Like, I couldn't deal with it anymore. So she had a side nigga close by where she was, and I guess her side nigga ended up buying her a ticket to go to Jamaica. Tells me that she's going, and the guy paid for her ticket. And you know, as girls, we joke around, we make little kiki jokes saying like, oh, so he couldn't buy my ticket too. Like, you know, little jokes like that, because, you know, that's what girls do. Like, if we find someone that we could whoops or someone that we could finesse, we try to put our girls on. But I wasn't dead ass about it. I was really saying it in a joking way. She tells my boyfriend's cousin that she's planning to come to Jamaica, but she did not want to tell him that her side nigga bought her ticket. So this girl made some elaborate lie of a story, basically saying that her cousin paid for her ticket. And to add to the story, she said that she tried to get her cousin to buy my ticket also. And mind you, the only cousin that comes to mind is the one that I used to talk to. And obviously, my boyfriend's cousin ends up telling my boyfriend. So my boyfriend is questioning me about this cousin buying ticket and all this stuff. And he's like, why is she saying that her cousin's trying to buy your ticket? I'm like, what are you talking about? I didn't know anything about this. And that caused me and my boyfriend to have like a little argument, because he's upset, like, what are you doing? Like, oh, so you're talking back to her cousin. And I'm telling him, like, what are you talking about? I don't know what you're talking about. And he basically tells me that Sketel told his cousin that her cousin was trying to buy my ticket and her ticket so we could come down to Jamaica. Once I heard that, I was livid, okay? I decided to message Sketel and tell her, yo, stop having my name in your mouth. I'm tired of you running my name to every person that we talk to. I'm tired of you always making up lies about me. I'm just tired. I don't want you, nobody, you, your family, nobody. I don't want nobody calling out my name. I'm tired of y'all having my names in your mouth. This girl had the nerve to tell me, what am I talking about? And she really tried to play dumb with me, and I had to check her, like, no, you're not going to play dumb with me. You know what you did. You know what you told my boyfriend's cousin, so stop. And from that day moving forward, I just had to cut her off. I left the conversation just like that. Simple, nothing more, nothing. So after that day, I thought I was done with her. I said, I'm done arguing with this girl. I've been through too much with this girl at this point, and every time I seem to get myself in a relationship, or anytime I'm starting to talk to somebody, she always does the same shit where she gets herself involved, or she makes up lies about me and just starts talking and rambling on about me. So I was just through at this point, and I said, you know what, I'm done. You would think the story was done after that, but it wasn't. A few months passed, and I believe it was the week before my birthday, which is her birthday also. But a week before our birthday, I got a DM on Instagram from her cousin, the one that lives in the same building as her. Her cousin tells me to call her. So I call her cousin and I ask her what's up. So her cousin asks me, am I the reason why you and Sketel are not friends? What are you talking about? She's like, am I the reason you and Sketel are not friends? I'm like, no. Even though what happened between me and your brother happened, and the stuff with the family happened, you're not the reason why me and her are not talking, because she did a lot and she played a big part of me and her not talking. Cousin tells me, exactly, so I don't know why she's going around telling people that I'm the reason why you and her are not friends. So After that, her cousin ends up telling me everything. Like, everything that happened between me and this girl, she tells me everything. That she did set me up that day. She did set me up that night at the hotel with the two guys. She told me that she was hanging out with him and they would talk about me, because when she would come to her house, she would be on the phone with him talking about me. She also tells me that she did cause that argument between me and her brother to happen, so me and him would fall out because she didn't want us dating, which I already knew that she wanted that to happen, but the fact that to hear it out of her own cousin's mouth saying that she made that situation happen because she didn't want us together. Then she tells me that night when her car got stolen, she set that up also. She was basically trying to do an insurance fraud, and she basically gave away her car to some guys so she could get back the money for the car in an insurance fraud. Then what topped it off, and this is what really made me have to just done her. She tells me that night when her house got robbed, she set that up. She brought the TV, she brought the laptop, and whatever else up to her house, and just so she could get money out of me. Yes, guys, you heard it here first. The girl set me up to make it look like her house got robbed. That is what I called my sis. I let this girl come in my house. I gave this girl money. I took care of her. I gave her things. I did so much for this girl, and this is what she was doing behind my back the whole friendship. The whole time I'm there laughing with this girl, kikiing with this girl, I find out that she was doing all of this behind my back. That was the same, and she also told me that same night she wanted me to come hang out with her. She was gonna come and jump me with her. So once her cousin, Sketel's cousin, told me everything, I was done. I said, you know what? Let me call you back. So I took my phone and decided to call Sketel and asked her about everything. And when she answered the phone, I asked her, Sketel, what did I ever do to you? And she's like, what are you talking about? And I asked her again, what did I ever do to you? And you know what the girl had the nerve to do and say? This girl had the nerve to tell me, what am I talking about? And she does not have time for this, and she hangs up the phone on me. One thing about me, I don't play those jokes. Hang up on me, and that will be the end of you. Like, I do not tolerate disrespect. To me, that is the most disrespectful thing you can do to somebody, especially when someone's trying to ask you something. And I wasn't cussing her. I wasn't talking to her rudely. All I asked was, what did I ever do to you? And this bitch had the nerve to hang up the phone on me. So once she hung up the phone on me, I decided to go in my phone, find all my archives, all the stuff, all the things people have sent me of this girl, all the things that I've had on her that I kept from her family, from people that she betrayed, people that she's robbed, everything. I blasted her ass on Instagram, on my Instagram story for all of my followers and all of her followers to see, and I tagged that ass. And I will probably insert a few clips of some of the stuff that I posted of her. I'm not gonna post everything because some of it is kind of too explicit to put on the YouTube. I was just so done with this girl. I had to do something, and I know some people might feel like I was petty to do that, but I honestly don't care, because after I hear that you set me up and our whole friendship was a lie, all the loyalty, everything is just out the window from there. I have no respect for you. You are dead to me, and that is that. We went back and forth for a little bit, but I dunned her out. Like, I don't give a fuck. I dunned that girl out. Even her family was shocked at the stuff that I was posting, because they didn't even know that much stuff on her. They didn't even know all that stuff about her and all the stuff that she was doing. And I basically exposed that ass. Totally embarrassed. She did block me on everything pretty much, and I felt satisfaction, because at the end of the day, after everything I've done for that girl, I would never think in a million years she would actually do something so evil to me. I literally let this girl in my life, let her sleep in my bed, like let her in my house around my people, and to know that you are doing stuff like that to me, like, that is not somebody, that's a straight out demon that does not need to be around me. And honestly, if I continued being friends with that girl, I would honestly end up either in jail, in the hospital, or 6 feet under. I say I didn't know what to expect from this girl. The whole friendship was a friggin' lie. I didn't know what I was getting myself into. I didn't know who I was dealing with. And the fact that her own family could call me and tell me all these things says a lot. And from that day forward, I was through with her. I was through. Never spoke to that girl ever again. A year later, he emailed me last month, a day after my birthday, apologizing to me for everything. I'm gonna insert the clip of the email just to show y'all that I ain't lying, but she ended up apologizing to me after everything that happened. I was honestly in shock, because after I blasted her ass on Instagram, I honestly thought it was done from there, because to me, you don't go back from something like that. Like, I feel like anytime it has to reach the point of you guys exposing each other on social media, there's no coming back from it. So to get an email from her apologizing for all the stuff that she did was just so unexpected. But it actually made me feel good that, she had some type of heart to apologize to me after everything. But at the end of the day, I will never forget. That girl did too much wicked things to me for me to ever forgive her fully. Like, I forgive her, but I will never forget. And even though, maybe she is sorry, but after everything, there's honestly no way of going back to that. In life, I've learned to just move on. When you deal with people like that, the best thing you can do is to just move on, or you'll end up in an even worse situation. And thankfully, God was always on my side when all that stuff was going on, because if some people wouldn't even make it out of a situation like that. Like, the stuff that girl put me through was just crazy. And to know that I called this girl my friend just makes it even worse. worse. That is my story time about the friend from hell. Um, this video is gonna be a long ass video, but I went through a lot. Even talking about it, I feel so drained speaking on it because it was so much to take in emotionally, and to know that this was supposed to be somebody close to me makes it even worse. So I hope my people out there, my goodies, I just hope you guys really take in the red flags. Stop ignoring certain things, making excuses for people. If they show you who they are, believe them. And that was my problem. She basically showed me exactly who she was, and I tried to ignore it because she was just a fun time and she was overall funny and I just liked hanging out with her. But I didn't see what was really going on. So the fact that when I got that phone call from her cousin exposing everything, it really broke me down. And even to this day, it still hurts me to think about all that stuff. But what doesn't kill you makes you stronger. Yeah, guys, I hope you guys enjoyed this story time. I hope you guys learned a lesson through me. So yeah, guys, I hope you guys enjoyed this video. Make sure you guys like, comment, subscribe to my YouTube channel, and don't forget to follow me on all my social medias. And yeah, guys, stay safe and stay blessed. Bye.